While we were exploring Urzikstan, the new Warzone map that you can play right now in Modern Warfare Zombies, we came across an AI character called the Knight. He was just driving around the train tracks in this pickup truck type thing. You could kill him, and then there was like this weird object that floated off his body, and if you interact with it, it says something like transmit to H7. So we looked on the map and we saw in H7 there's this mansion type building. We went over there to have a look, and underneath the mansion there's this vault with 4 lights above the door. Only one of them was lit up, and a chessboard outside, and there was a bunch of chess pieces on there, one of them being the knight, and that one was knocked over. So it seemed pretty clear what we had to do. We'd just killed the knight was knocked over, one of the lights had lit up, we needed to light up the other 3 lights to open up the door, and I'm guessing the chessboard was going to be a clue for how we were going to do that. We needed to find the other chess pieces. There was a bishop, a pawn, and a rook. We were going to have to try and take all of them out to get into this vault and find out what's inside. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to do that. It's super easy to repeat, and it doesn't actually take too long. The bad news is, and I want to get this out of the way early, there's not really any reward. You don't get a blueprint, you don't even get a calling card or anything. It does make me think maybe this will be a mission later on. We haven't done that many of the missions because we were doing this all day, so perhaps this will be a mission later on. But it is at least fun to do, and you know, it's something a little bit different. I think it's one of the most fun Easter eggs we've had on a Warzone map, because you get to fight a bunch of different bosses and go all over the map. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want to see more Easter egg hunts, more guides, more Modern Warfare Zombies gameplay, because I'm having a great time with this mode, make sure you subscribe and turn the notifications on. So the first thing you need to do is to find those 4 bosses, and a chessboard is actually a big clue on how you can do that. So on the chessboard you can see where the pieces are, and that roughly corresponds to where they are on the map. Now, on a chessboard, there's only 8x8 squares, and on the tactical map, there's 10x10 squares. But if you look at the map, you can kind of see that the outside ring isn't really used for anything, so we're just going to be focusing on kind of the central 8x8. With that in mind, you can see that the pawn is in I1, the bishop is in D1, the rook is in C5, and the knight is in G6. And the location where you have to take all of this stuff is in H7. So let's start with the pawn. The pawn is the easiest one to fight because it's not really a boss, it's just something that's in a little room. To be honest, in most of the games we played, somebody had already taken it because somebody spawned super close to there. But anyway, in I1, so right in the northeast corner of the map, there's like this little building on a pier or something. If you go down there, a bunch of zombies will spawn, and you'll find this room with a load of boxes that just has armor in it, and then the tablet that you need to interact with in the corner. Interact with it, you just have to hold the button on it and it will say that it's transmitted something to H7. If you can't find that tablet, if you go in there and some of the boxes are open and that tablet's gone, it just means someone else beat you to it. That doesn't actually matter, you don't need to be the one to do any of these, so then you can just move on. The second one we're going to look at is the knight. I think the knight starts in G6, but he actually moves around. So like I mentioned earlier, he's in this pickup truck and he goes around the map anti-clockwise on the train tracks. And he actually drives pretty fast if you're driving, but if you're walking near him, he seems to slow down a little bit. Or, as a little bonus tip, if you're leaning out of a vehicle. So what I did was just follow him in a car and then lean out of a vehicle with an LMG and shoot him until you could disable the car, or you can just kill him out the back of it. As soon as he dies, the vehicle stops, and then you'll be able to interact with his tablet in the back. If you are following it, just be a little bit aware that he'll drop mines and stuff like that. He's a little bit like the bullfrog in Vondel. He will try to kill you, and he's much more effective if you're in a vehicle. But once you kill him, you should be able to find the tablet, do the same thing, transmit to H7, and then you can move on. The next one, the bishop, is a tiny bit trickier just because it's a little bit of a harder fight, but he's still super easy to find. So this one is in D1, and the railway line actually goes through this tunnel. Sometimes you can actually weirdly find the bishop and the knight at the same time, which is awesome. But anyway, if you go through this railway tunnel, at some point down it, a load of smoke grenades will go off, and that is the bishop spawning. Now you need to be a little bit careful because he will sprint at you and try to hit you with something. You need to kind of try and find any cover you can, and there's not a lot of cover down there, and take them all out. If you've got a vehicle and it's got a lot of health, you can actually run them over, but bear in mind, because they're mercenaries, they'll take down a vehicle pretty quickly. So just maybe drive past them to get the smoke to spawn, and then wait for the smoke to clear a little bit so you can see where they are, and come back and run them over. But there shouldn't be too many enemies. I think there's like 5 or 6 down there or something like that. One of them will have the name the Bishop, and once you kill them, again, it'll drop the tablet which will say transmit to H7. Interact with that by holding your interact button, and then that one will be done. Then finally we have what might be the hardest one, the Rook. Now the Rook is in this hotel building in C5, so if you just go to near where the giant bridge is, it's kind of on the east coast of that bit. But anyway, there's this big hotel building. If you go in there and start going up the stairs, you'll notice there's a bunch of mines, and once you get up to a certain floor, there's also a turret at the end of the corridor. That's where the Rook is, and this one makes sense. You know, a Rook, I guess, is heavily fortified, it's a castle, so he's turned this hotel into his castle. To get through it isn't too difficult, you just need to kind of take your time a little bit, be a little bit careful, and then once you manage to take the Rook down, again, just like you did for all of the others, you can interact with the tablet and it'll say something like transmitting to H7. Now, I'll go into more detail with these in another video in the future once we've got it all mapped out, but sometimes, and especially near all of these bosses, you'll be able to find some weird purple glowing runes. Sometimes they'll just be 3 in a row, sometimes there'll be a big arch. Here in this room, I see one of the arches appear on the wall. This lets you teleport around the map for 1,000 essence. Now you have to shoot the 3 runes that correspond to the place you want to go. The mansion where we're going to be going are these 3 runes. So the weird spiky U, the bow and arrow that points up, and then the sort of curvy U. Hit those 3, and then you should be able to interact with the portal, and it will take you straight to the place underneath the mansion where the vault is. So for the final bit of this, you need to go to H7, and this is the manor building. So if you go into the manor building, you can go down the lift shaft type thing on this rope, or you can go in as like a tunnel from the sea entrance if you want to go in from there. But you need to get to the basement basically and find a vault. Do be aware there's a bunch of mercenaries down there, and sometimes a bunch of zombies spawn down there as well, so be a little bit careful. The mercenaries can take you down incredibly quickly, but once you find a vault, all 4 lights should be lit up on there, and if you look at the chessboard, all of the black pieces should be knocked down, and it should just be the white king left. Now, if you go over to the vault door, it'll still say it's locked, but if you look at this button just to the left of this door, you need to get in just the right position to interact with it, but keep messing around and eventually you'll find the interact prompt. Just tap interact on that and that will open the door, and you'll get your reward, which is a bunch of boxes. The boxes have quite good stuff in them. Every time I've done it, I've had some gold bars, maybe a couple of perks, a turret chip or something like that. Stuff that's okay, nothing amazing, no wonder weapon schematic or anything like that, which would have been much nicer. One of the boxes, however, might take you by surprise, and this is where the final boss comes in. This is where the king is. He's hiding in the vault, and you can kill him, and he doesn't drop anything either, which is a real shame, but, you know, it's a little bit of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this Easter egg. Like I said, if you want to see more stuff like this, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notifications on. I'll be streaming a bunch of MWZ over the next month, and anytime I find any more Easter eggs or anything like that, there'll be videos right here. I have already posted a video on how you can pet the dog, and you get an achievement for doing that. And at some point, I'll put together a guide for those teleporters to show you all the different places you can get to around the map. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.